What's up, everybody? Jeff Cooper here. Welcome back to Blue Collar Heathen on YouTube. Today, remember this guy? That's Blue Collar Catholic. Yep, he's back again. Blue Collar Catholic did a response video of sorts to my response to him. Um, I don't think he watched my video. I think that he got the information from my video secondhand and then responded to that, which, dude, you could have you could have responded to the actual video that I posted, but it's cool. It's cool. But Blue Collar Catholic has a couple more things to say. Now, his original video here was 15 minutes in length. Now, I cut it down, all right, because the title of the video is Evidence for an Atheist. And he goes in and, addresses a few other points which weren't speaking to the evidence bit. So I kind of cut those out. I'll leave a link to the entire video down below. And, we'll let him just get into it. But first, here come the tunes. All right, so we're back, and thanks for being here for this. This is going to be the first premiere that I'm doing on here. That comes at the urging of Nervardia, who is awesome, and if you're not already subscribed to her, I wonder what you're doing here, but I'll leave a link to her page down below anyway. This is us getting back into it with Mr. Blue Collar Catholic, the edited video that I did here, and it's called Evidence for an Atheist.
So my son calls me the other day and tells me he sees some atheists on YouTube critiquing my video, all religions are the same. And we had a good laugh that someone would actually take the time out. So whoever that person was, I want to, if you're watching, probably not, but if he's watching,
I'm watching.
I want to thank you for taking that time. We welcome
You're welcome.
This is how we learn.
Fair enough.
I'm just going to respond because some of the critique he told me was fair. And when I watched the video, I realized, yeah, I made a lot of assumptions, and I need to clarify a few things. I still believe everything I said in there, just made a lot of assumptions and didn't get into detail.
All right, so you made up a lot of assumptions, and, he admits that there's errors in his video, things that could be better, at least. So, I appreciate that. That's cool. I appreciate that. That's fine.
So if you are watching this, or if any other atheists are watching this, first you got to realize I'm just a milkman.
I'm just a medic, dude.
A theologian or an apologist.
You're not making a living at it. This isn't a profession for you. It's more of a, a hobby, a thing that you're into. I don't want to even demean it by calling it a hobby, because in a sense, I'm doing the same thing. You're a milkman. I'm a paramedic. We both work long days. We keep odd freaking hours. We have to bust our ass to keep the house and all that stuff. And, this engaging in this type of discussion is something that we're both into. It's just that you and I are coming at it from opposite angles. And that's it. I get it. It's cool, man.
Just sharing my experiences with God, how I came to God, and how I left evangelicalism to become a Catholic.
All right. Which is interesting. I'm glad to hear that he said that, because in the original video that I responded to him, there was a couple of things where I was like, man, that's weird for a Catholic to say. That sounds more like, like a Baptist or something like that. So, all right, he's got that background. So now that, that puts a little context on it, makes it make a little more sense.
And that was my main purpose of this. But I'll address some of the concerns. Like I said, it was a fair critique. It wasn't nothing nasty.
Okay, I'm glad he thought so, because, I wasn't trying to be a dick about it.
And I'm giving evidence. Evidence and proof are two different things. I could tell you the house I'm living in is safe. Come on in. The roof isn't going to cave in on you. Based on the evidence of the builder, based on the evidence of the architect that drew the designs, based on the evidence of the laborers I seen working in the concrete, and just from past experience, I've lived in this house several years. So the evidence that I'm giving you, to me, makes sense. You could trust the house. But it's not proof. I can't prove to you this roof isn't going to fall down.
the bit about the roof falling down and all that, that's the claim. The claim is that the roof will not fall down. And the evidence supporting that claim is what you said about the construction methods and materials and qualifications of the personnel putting all that stuff together. That's the evidence. The claim is that the roof won't fall down. Okay?
So that's the difference between evidence and proof.
No, that's the difference between a claim and evidence. And that's probably an important distinction, and we'll probably come back to that later.
So, like for example, before I get to specifics on his critiques, the proof I see of God is just common sense. So, if I was flying a plane over a deserted island and I see written
seriously
in the sand SOS, I think it's safe to assume that someone wrote that.
Are you going watchmaker on me? Are you going Paley's watchmaker on me? All right? You're arguing to design? Come on, man. This isn't the time. This is not the time to be doing that.
That the wind just didn't blow and by chance
yeah,
it just happened to
you're
be there.
Going watchmaker.
And if you look at the complexity of the human brain, just common sense, it couldn't just come from nothing. There had to be an intelligent design to create that.
No one's claiming that it came from nothing. No one is making that claim. The only people making that claim are creationists, that something came from nothing. Nobody else is making that claim. So I don't know who you're talking to with that, but it ain't me.
And again, I'm a blue-collar guy.
Me too.
It's not my title.
Me either.
I'm a milkman, which means my alarm, depending on the route that day, either it goes off at midnight, it goes off at 1 in the morning.
Okay.
And then I drive a milk truck, and I work for about 13, 14 hours a day.
Okay. Well, I'm a medic. And, my alarm goes off at, obscene hours. And at the main job, I work, 12 or 24-hour shifts. And then I have a couple of part-time jobs, too, because I already said I'm a medic, and you can't make a living off of one job at that because, paramedicine doesn't pay jack and shit.
Why quote from the Bible? Atheists don't believe the Bible.
First,
why quote from the Bible when you're trying to convert an atheist? We don't believe the Bible. Fair enough. I quote from the Bible because, based on historians, the New Testament is the most historically accurate document of any document. And based on scholars, and I'll give you their names, Bart Ehrman is one, Bruce Metzger is another, Will Durant is another. There's many more, but these are like 3 top scholars I found. 2 of them are atheists. So, based on how they look at history and what they say historical scholars look to see if something's accurate, is how many manuscripts are there? How many copies are there of the original writing? The second most accurate document in ancient history is Homer's Iliad, which has less than 650 copies in the Greek. The New Testament has over 5,000 copies in the Greek. That's the #1 ancient historical document.
Well, actually, I'll do you even better than that. It's got like 5,800 last I checked. But, you want to put it down to 5,000, we can do that. But, just in the sake of accuracy, it's 5,800.
It also has 10,000 in Latin and 10,000 in Coptic. So it's based on historical standards, they say this is the most accurate, this is the most authentic ancient documents they have. So it could be trusted to look at historical facts.
No. No. No, 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 no. No. Mr. Blue Collar Catholic. The number of manuscript copies one has of a text can only speak to the accuracy of the text over time. If the text had been changed, for example, if there was mistranslations or anything like that, you can take that and say, all right, well, the text that was from the earliest recording to the modern recording has stayed consistent. It does not and cannot speak to what the text describes. Okay? You can't get there from the number of copies. I mean, the number of copies is irrelevant. The text can be gibberish, okay? And just random letters in any order. And if you have 5,000 copies of a book with letters in any random order, and those letters stay consistent, then it's accurate. It even if the text doesn't mean anything. You see what I mean? The number of copies of a book does not make the book true. It never does.
Also, they have 20,000 quotes from the church fathers quoting the Bible. Church fathers, I mean leaders in the church from the first 3 centuries quoting scripture.
Right.
So,
which
again, that's
talks
evidence.
to
Another way
the
to look at evidence is
consistency
how
of scripture,
far from
not
the
the
original
accuracy
writing
of
do
the
they have a copy.
events.
Again, the second most accurate ancient document is Homer's Iliad, which the closest they have is 1,100-year difference from the original to a copy that they have in their hands today. The New Testament, these 5,000 copies they have, date 200 years or less from the original.
Bullshit. That is bullshit. I don't know where you got that figure from, Mr. Blue Collar Catholic, but you need to think again. You really do. Let's just talk for a moment about what they mean by manuscript. Okay? Because manuscript in this context, we're used to manuscript being the completed work that the author submits for publication. But that isn't what's happening here. And that isn't what they mean here. Okay? Manuscript in this context means literally any scrap of paper that has handwritten words on it. Okay? Literally any scrap of paper. And from the 2nd century, you have exactly 2. Not 5,000. But even if you had 5,000, even if you had 5,800, that would not make the stories in the Bible true.
Which, in historical terms, there's no comparison. And I'm saying that's the second. The third is like 3 copies in 3 manuscripts. The fourth, maybe 1. So you can rely, based on these scholars, you can rely on the New Testament.
No.
So that's why I use the New Testament when I'm trying to give a historical point.
But you can't do that. You can't do that. The number of copies has nothing to do with what the text describes. I mean, here, hold on. I'll just grab any frickin' book. I'll just grab any frickin' book at all. Yeah. All right. Okay, so what I have here is a copy of Karnacki, the Ghost Finder. Okay? Now, this is the Arkham House edition. All right? And this is the first edition. This is the first edition of this. So if you're a book geek, you might be geeking on this. But if there was 80 copies of this, all right, which is 40 times the amount of 2nd century copies we have of the Bible, if there was 80 copies of this, would that make these stories true? If there was 5,800 copies of this from the first printing, would that make these stories true? No, it would not, because the number of copies cannot speak to what the text describes. Same thing for the Bible. Do you get that now? Do you get that? Does that make sense to you, Mr. Blue Collar Catholic? Do you understand why appealing to the Bible in that case really doesn't help you? It's just you repeating yourself. The Bible is the claim. You need to come up with the evidence to back it. Okay?
Also, non-Christian sources in the 1st century, And
There
I
you
had
go.
all their quotes, and I'm not gonna have time to read all their quotes, but I'm gonna tell you to look them up. Tacitus, first century
Tacitus,
historian, a pagan,
Josephus,
a governor,
Pliny the
or a
Younger.
senator, I believe, at the time, wrote extensively about Jesus from a negative, from someone who opposed Christianity. But that proves that he lived. Also,
The,
Flavius Josephus, remember the name
why
Josephus,
are
a
we getting
first
into
century
these?
Jewish historian who didn't accept Jesus as the Messiah but wrote about him extensively. And another one, and then there's more, I'm just going to give you
Extensively is a
three.
bit of a
Pliny
stretch,
the
ain't it?
Younger, not to be confused with Pliny the Elder, who was credited
That
for
was his
the
uncle.
quote, home is where the heart is. Pliny the Younger was his nephew of Pliny the Elder. And Pliny the Younger, also a pagan, I believe he was a senator and a historian, wrote extensively about Jesus. These were contemporaries of Jesus. These guys were alive when Jesus was alive. And their writings are also believed to be authentic by scholars and historians. Okay? So,
All right, I'm stopping you there because that whole bit was a distraction and really didn't mean anything from anything. All right? I wasn't and am not arguing from a mythicist position. I'm not saying that Jesus was completely made up. I'll grant you that there was a Jesus character running around first century Palestine. I'll grant you that, his mom's name translated into the common vernacular of today would be called Mary. And that he was, you want him executed on a cross? Have at it. No problem. He can be executed on a cross by Pontius Pilate, and you can make the date of that execution any freaking day you wish. Doesn't matter to me at all. None of that means a thing because that was never in debate. That was never in discussion between you and I. You want to make a discussion between you and I, that's fine. We can do that, but I don't think we're going to have many bones of contention. Right up until the point where you start claiming that he rose again and that him being risen again is evidence of divinity, because it is not and cannot be. Because that could not happen. 3-day-old corpses do not resurrect. And even if it did, that does not in any way imply or indicate divinity at all. It's a non sequitur. All it means is we didn't understand death near as well as we thought. That's it. Do we dig this now?
where do I get the 500 from?
You get it from Corinthians 15, the letters of Paul. The Bible is the claim. That's the only place it occurs. You have no corroborating evidence for the 500 brethren to whom the risen Jesus supposedly appeared to.
I get it from the Bible.
Of course you do.
The New Testament, that document I just told you was historically accurate.
And you're incorrect on that for the reasons that I've already described in this video.
1 Corinthians 15:6. Then he appeared to more than 500 brethren at one time, most of whom are still alive, though some have fallen asleep. So, according to the New Testament, the most accurate historical document,
Most textually consistent historical document. If you want to make a claim like that, fine. Most textually consistent, not historically accurate.
after his death, he appeared to 500.
According to Paul in the letter to Corinthians, which is an uncorroborated claim.
And at the time of that writing, most of them were still alive to say, yeah,
Allegedly.
some of them had died since he wrote that.
Yep, and you still can't name a single one of them, can you?
Okay? That was the Apostle Paul wrote that. Saul, who this guy apparently mentioned, thought that's who I was talking about when Saul seen him on his road to Tarsus. I wasn't even thinking about that, but that's a good argument. Thanks.
All right. And on that, all right, you know what? I admit, in my original response to him, he was talking about prophets and the beginning, like how religion started. And, he said that the Buddhists have Buddha, that the Muslims have Muhammad. And I stopped them there and I just extrapolated from what he was saying, what I thought he was saying, and I was like, all right, fine. You know, the Buddhists have Buddha, the Muslims have Muhammad, the Jews have Moses, the Christians have Paul. That's what I was getting at. And, you know, he's right. He's right. You know, I kind of anticipated too much in that original video. But that's it. That's it. That's all we got time for today. I'm not going to go through the whole 15-minute video. Like I said, this was edited. I will leave a link to the original video down in the description there. And thanks to Novardia for, you know, giving me a little kick in the ass to do this premiere thing. Here's hoping that it goes well. And, you know, we'll see you next time. This is the point of the episode where you guys do the YouTubey things. The liking, the sharing, the subscribing, ringing of the bell, getting of the notifications, leaving a comment down below, subscribe to Novardia, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.